Bill and Ben are the most mischievous engines working on Sir Topham Hatt's railway. They're kept busy pushing and pulling cars up and down the line that runs from the China Clay Works to the harbor yard.
Yeah, okay. I can agree with that. Tank engines do tend to be more playful. That doesn't mean, though, their larger counterparts are much better. We've seen plenty of times where the tender engines have misbehaved as well. But for these two muskrat engines, they have certainly garnered a reputation for themselves after their little whack-a-mole game they played on Boco. And even though Edward set them straight there, that didn't stop them from being problematic elsewhere. One day, Top Hat had a different job for them. They were to go to the Wellsworth shunting yard where they would help Boco and Edward tidy things up.
They set off happily on their important mission. Boco was resting in the yard when suddenly he heard a pair of familiar whistles. Sighed Boco. Here comes trouble.
Boco's reaction is priceless. The fact that he can recognize and mentally prepare himself for the upcoming madness with his own sarcasm is hilarious. I almost got confused for a minute, though. The siding that Boco is sitting in looks like the carriage shed from the Daisy episode of Season 2, but it's not. And soon thereafter, Bill and Ben were moving things around as necessary. For the little yellow bugs that they are, it's amazing how helpful they can be when they work right. However, this actually doesn't make sense, though. If Bill and Ben are misbehaving, it's because their drivers are messing around. Why aren't they the ones getting into trouble?
The twins were soon busy pushing and pulling the heavy cars into place.
Okay, that's a new one. Bill and Ben's theme has been played before, but this is the first time we heard it coincide with the busy theme. How often does one hear that kind of mixture? And look, we also get a nice backed-up view of the Wellsworth shunting yards. That's a lot of sidings, of which wasn't even noticed until now that there was a turntable at the center of it all. Something the twins had never been on either. Of course, let it be this contraption, though, to foul up the day for everyone. Bill went first, only to be rotated accidentally onto Ben's track, who was going next. Now there was a standoff.
The engines came to a grinding halt. They gazed grimly at each other. I was here first, said Bill. But you're in my way, protested Ben. You'll have to back up again. I won't. You will.
So this isn't the first time the twins have lines in this episode, but this was just the best place I could get it in. And boy, do these two sound weird, but in a funny way. I can't tell if Carlin's making his voice all uneven on purpose or not, but it definitely makes these two sound like boys going through puberty. Either way, the arguing only ceased once Top Hat stepped in. For the rest of the day, though, the twins were not speaking to one another. Of course, only because they both didn't know it wasn't any of their faults. Ugh, the drama.
That Bill, imagine getting in my way on the turntable. He's a really silly engine. The way I heard it, sighed Boco, it sounded like you were both to blame. You must have heard it all wrong. The twins grumbled about each other all day.
Great. Now Edward and Boco had to be the middlemen to an argument they didn't even care for. Boco's face is priceless in half of these shots. His face says, can I just have a normal day? Even Edward, who has a heart of gold and more patience than a turtle, got annoyed with all the bitterness surrounding him. So he and Boco came up with a plan, and then their respective crew members brought it up to Top Hat, who thought it was genius.
Boco is taking a special train to the harbor. His regular heavy goods train is waiting on the siding. You can pull it together. But, protested Bill and Ben, who were still not speaking to each other. Good. I knew I could rely on you two.
Why does it look like Top Hat's neck is broken? His head is all doofy looking in these couple shots. I mean, of course I could see if he's looking up to the engines, but Bill and Ben aren't that tall to begin with. And there have been times where he's talking to Gordon and there's no awkward poses. Weird. Anyway, the twins now had no choice but to work with each other. At first, Ben felt he would pull it himself, and Bill decided to let him fail at it, which he did. Then the unexpected happened.
Both twins laughed. I don't think we'll take turns this time, Ben, said Bill. I think we'd better pull together. Ben was delighted. It was good to be helping each other. Best of all, it was good to be friends again.
Many twins don't stay separated for long, I'd think. This was a goofy little episode. All in all, it was fine. The only thing I had an issue with was the fact that the only reason why the twins play games is because of their operators. I don't know how many times I have to confirm this, but the trains do not move by themselves. So the only way Bill and Ben play tricks on the China clay workers is if their drivers are the ones causing the trouble. Anyway, aside from that, seeing the twins get their own episode for themselves was enjoyable to watch. We have seen twin engines in the past with characters like these two, or Donald and Douglas, but here we see an actual conflict arise between the two instead. How many times do siblings get into arguments with one another? Think about the number of times those arguments immediately shifted gears after something stupid happens. I'm sure someone listening can relate. And then I'm sure there's always someone who witnesses the war of words and has no idea what to do while it occurs. That's exactly how Boco and Edward deal with it initially, and it's funny. I tell you, there's nothing worse than being man in the middle. For visuals, this episode had repeated structures and new angles to view. The only places we've now seen before was the 3-tier bridge, which the twins cross over to and from, and the other being Arlsburg Harbor at the very end. But the rest are all brand spanking new. The Sodor China clay pits was a sight to behold. It looks like the Farquhar Quarry, but not exactly the same. The horizon shot especially looks extra pretty. Then there's the Wellsworth shunting yards, which looks familiar until the camera backs up and we see just how dissimilar it is. It has quite an outlook. For music, the main theme to show up in and out was Bill and Ben's signature cue. It's played at the very start and end of the entry. In between, however, inserts of it are heard more as incidental music, which is quite useful. More interesting, though, was the use of it in the busy theme when Bill and Ben help move the rolling stock. That takes thought to mesh themes like that, but it works. Next episode is Tender Engines. Thanks for watching.